Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Bricks King podcast, where I'm going to bid your ear about Lego, review those amazing bricks of plastic, and discuss what is new and up and coming around the Lego world. I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's bet on it. Welcome in, everybody. How are we doing today? Yes, another day, another glorious day, right? Anyway, today we have another interview from Brick World Chicago. I'm trying to catch up and get the last of these out of here. Had to adjust some things in the studio due to some renovations that are going on. But this one you're definitely going to love. Barbara is an amazing individual, and her creations are incredible. You're going to love this interview. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, guys. So I promised you another interview today, and we're here with Barbara Hoel. I almost screwed it up already. She is here today talking about the amazing flowers. I'm a giant botanicals fan of the Lego planets. I've gotten all of them sent to me and they're all displayed. I've got the orchid set up in my office at school, and I have students and staff come in. They're like, "Is that Lego?" Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
My aide literally thought it was a plant until the last day of school when I had to take it home. And he's like, "Wait, this isn't real." No, it's not. But you've got some stuff here that looks incredibly real. And
Thank you.
I don't know how you managed to do it. My wife would appreciate it. Like, I'm like, "Babe, I'm going to bring some flowers home."
Well, so if you look at my fall flowers, they don't even try and emulate any real flowers. But people feel like they're real. And one of the reasons is because when I'm a gardener and I like flowers a lot, so when I'm building, I'm really paying attention to the way flowers behave.
Okay.
So all of my flower displays will move in the breeze if there's a wind or anything, and I make them strong enough so they can do that.
Okay.
I could actually talk about the Lego botanical sets and how I fix them so they won't fall apart, and they can do what I want them to do.
Okay.
But so it's the arrangement of it. I also really studied how florists arrange things. But I also do the rule of 3 that you want to have odd numbers of anything. And so when you're doing a garden, anything, it's going to look better if it's odd as opposed to 2. Mm-hmm. It always looks a little bit unbalanced. And I always have light things. And also if you have colors or pops of colors, the other colors don't compete with it.
Okay.
So there's a lot of that going on, as well as just I'm very, very conscious of color. That's always been my thing. I have a Bachelor of Science in Fine Arts and taught kids for years art and how to use color and not be overwhelmed by it. And I get really overly stimulated when there's too much, which is one of the reasons I have black backgrounds behind my work. People see it really well, so it stands out, but it also is because it's hard for me to appreciate some people's work because I can also see everything behind them in the rest of the room. And when I started doing the tint for the black light, it would end up being like this backdrop for my other work if it was set up in a certain way. I'm like, well, we can make a backdrop.
Yeah.
And so that's why I do the black cloth as well. So not only are my things different looking and visually impactful, but I just have this black cloth behind it too so people can really see it.
Okay.
And so that also helps. But a lot of it is me, again, looking at the movement of flowers, how they go together, the color schemes. But again, the fall flowers, it was that mask. I guess it's a Spider-Man 4, somebody told me, or something. I don't know. But I saw that mask piece, just the piece itself. One of them, I'm like, that would make a great decaying flower bouquet.
Oh, okay.
So the red flowers that are in there that are the same shape exactly, so I am also thinking about if I can, so when I'm here, I like to take things off and hand them to kids to hold or people who have disabilities. So you can actually drop my flowers, all those flowers on the ground, and they won't fall apart.
Oh my gosh.
So that's one of the things. But the red ones, the seed pods that are in the top rattle. They're
really?
audio. Yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
Right.
Because I'm not going to go up and touch somebody's build, but
and in
now
a
I need
large
to.
space like this, you can't hear it, so I have to actually take it off and put it by their ear to hear. But I also made them audio, and so for me, because I actually worked with kids who were in high risk. I worked with a lot of kids who were in the special ed programs. So I'm always, when I'm doing stuff, thinking about that. That's why, and some of the things I get frustrated with the botanical sets is that that's going to appeal to a lot of women and girls, and they're not designed to hold together very well.
No.
And that means a new builder to Lego is going to think there's something wrong with themselves as a builder
Okay.
when they build them, but they were badly designed. But like I took the succulent set and I could change every single one of those with hardly any additional parts to be more structurally sound and hold together. Like the purple one, the biggest problem is they just used the wrong clip.
Yeah.
If you use the robot arm, which is why I could drop those other ones, it not only stays together, it's like grips better, and that's why I can drop the red and mask one on the ground
Okay.
and it not fall apart. It's because I'm using the robot arms.
Yeah.
And it looks exactly the same. It positions it exactly the same, everything. So that's, what goes into why mine look natural, because I can also adjust them.
Yeah.
Because they won't fall apart.
Right. Yeah. Well,
If you can adjust them, then you can make them look more natural.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. They're so like you said, you can drop them on the floor and they're not going to, they're so sturdy. I mean, you walk by it. If you didn't know this was a Lego convention, you'd walk by it and think, oh, that's a really cool flower. Where'd you get those?
Okay, so the first time I did the first edition of the tall flower bouquet, which was before the botanical set came out, the bouquet one set came out, which gave me tons of parts so I could make that one.
Okay.
But anyway, the first edition of that I displayed at Brickworld, Indianapolis. And at the same time, there was a botanical show going on in an adjacent building because it was at the state fairgrounds. And so my booth was set up. There was a black backdrop behind it so you could see it across the room. And I'm standing there and trying to get people engaged in it, and they're just walking by. And I found out they thought I had real flowers, and they thought I was trying to get them to go to the botanical show. But I had my bonsai tree where all the leaves were made out of the glow-in-the-dark Martian body.
Okay. Yeah.
So I used that as my leaves on that. So I just held one of those torsos, and as people went by, I would say, "You want to see my Martian?" And once they were like, "What?" And once and they found out it was Lego, then I was just swamped. But when they thought it was real flowers, I was soliciting to go to the flower. But I was so complimented by that, too, at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there wasn't even that good in my mind, it wasn't that good as what it is now. And when I led a Secrets of Flower Making class this weekend, and I showed a picture of that with the new one. So that was in 2019, and then this one I made in 2021. I'm like, it's a difference availability part, it's skill. And just telling people, it's not magic. It's parts.
Right.
It's practice. And so I didn't give them instructions for their flowers. I'm like, I want you to experience what it is. You play with these parts over and over and figure out how to get a look you want, because it's not easy, but all these parts are the basic parts I use for any flower.
Okay.
And once they understood that, the secret is that you're going to fail a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's the secret, is you'll fail.
It's without question, you're going to fail a lot.
Yeah. And so the grapes that hang on
Okay.
those started out, the first time I tried to make grapes, I was using the strings with that had the tabs on them, the bars on them as opposed to a clip.
Yes.
Okay. So I was clipping those, and it's just like grapes aren't on a string that wiggles. And it would just be this clump. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? So I just kept trying. So I ended up using the semi-flexible rods with the 1x1 4 stud side thing and sticking stuff off that. And then I was using the 1x1 squares with the clip up in red brown, which I'd been using until this show. Those break all the time. So my grapes were always flying off. And it's like I had this epiphany, the night before we drove down here. I'm like, well, what if I stick one of those black bars with a clip on it, since the top piece is one of the 4x4, and then I can pull it out and give length if I need. And so that's what it is.
Okay.
So now before it goes to Billund, I'm going to change out all the parts in that because they're all available in black, so all the stem will be in there. But I was trying to get that twiggy look. that grapes actually have.
I think you got it.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm always thinking about what do things really look like. And I don't have my lilacs on display here, but lilacs are twiggy too.
Mm-hmm.
And, how do I give that twiggy, imperfect look that lilacs have, and then from a distance, and lilacs are super heavy if you ever cut one. You can never get the stem long enough to keep it from falling out. And it's the same with Lego lilacs.
Right. Yeah. Yes, it is.
So it was like that. I didn't even have to try with that.
I can't even imagine. Well, I don't want to go into a tangent here.
Yeah.
But you had you touched on you had said about Billund.
Yeah.
And I talked with Stuart Harris yesterday, and he had brought you up because of your stuff. So you've got stuff going to the Lego house.
Yeah.
What are you taking to the Lego house?
The display that's over there, the fruit still life, and the 2 flowers are what's going to go to Billund.
So they're going to go.
And the books probably that they're sitting on. So
yeah, right.
I use those books. I add more books to it, but those books are just great for risers and everything. And it's amazing how many people love the books.
I know, and they're so. I don't want to take
so
away
simple.
from. They're very simple.
Yeah.
It's not a complex build or anything. You look at it, you're like, that's.
But
awesome.
I love to also talk about it because I'll show them, one, that it's a prop and that the underneath doesn't work, but I also show that the colors, the way they are, and that they're not like all one colors because I didn't have enough parts.
Okay.
So I always tell people, I don't always have enough parts to do something, but you can make things work.
Oh, yeah.
And since I'm covering up the middle of them, most of the time it doesn't matter.
No.
So yeah, I have a lot of parts in some things, but other things I don't. And yeah, so we're always fiddling and doing things. So
how did it come about that your flowers are going to end up in Billund? Was that one of those things where...
Well, Stuart was at Brick World in 2019.
Right.
And those weren't even made yet. Actually, the old original flower bouquet that I was telling you about was there. But just my whole display that was out, he was looking at it and he said, I think I would like to have you display... Actually, he asked about 2 pieces that... One that I didn't even think about that much. I had a Harry Potter greenhouse that I actually made for a lug competition that opened up, and it was the Neville planting stuff in there and had all the weird plants. He's like, I'd like to put that in the case that we're trying to do. We're doing a minifig display.
Okay.
And then I had this other one. He said, why didn't you enter the competition? I said, well, actually, this alien one over here, I said, I built that for your competition, but you had this rule that it couldn't be displayed or photographed before it went into the competition.
Oh, okay.
And I wanted to display it at Brick World, so I ended up not doing it because I wanted... He goes, oh, okay, well, I want that too. And so he said, I'd like you to be the master case, but we already picked everybody for that. But send the portfolio to me, and we'll get you set up. So they sent me the stuff, and I shipped those pieces for those cases because that's how they do those. And then, and he said, send up, your portfolio. And so did. And so I was supposed to be there in 2020 in the master case. But because of COVID, it got delayed, and then it got delayed again. And meantime, I built these that are there. Yeah. And, because we all get better and everything like that. Plus, a lot of the work I do is black light oriented. And they can't do a black light display there.
Right.
Not that they told me that, I just knew.
Yeah.
And so it was like, I need to build something that's impactful that be there. And I never thought I wanted to do anything like flower bouquets or anything like that, but I was part of the collaborative build for Eurobrick where they did the human scale.
Oh, okay.
So I had made a hanging plant for them that was in there, and some other things that was also that year. And I just had enjoyed so much doing the life scale things.
Yeah.
And then I actually tried out for the first season of Lego Masters.
Oh, okay.
And one of the things you had to be able to do for tryouts was build a sphere, and I had never done that. And so I learned how to build spheres, and I started making the fruit.
Right.
And so I also have the evolution of my ability to build fruit, too. So the fruit is a result of me learning how to build a sphere.
Okay. All right.
And then the cloth is just something that I had been doing, like little cloths, but I finally had enough of the 10 by 10 netting to do something big. And I'm like, well, how do I display that? I can't just put it out. It's not that good. I need to show its drapes. And so it ends up in this full still life because of the different elements that I was learning to build or that I wanted to display but not have it be the only thing.
Right.
And so it's just evolved that way.
Okay.
And definitely like the initial problem, and it's always the vessels. The top part's always very heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And because of if you wanted to emulate real life, vessel bottoms are usually narrow.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So they come down and narrow, and so I kept having trouble with. So the big tall one has boat keel weights in the bottom.
Okay.
Because the first time I built it, it went.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I still have to put the hanging plates on when I put it together build them out at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got enough weight in it. But for the white bowl for the fruit, I actually have the longest axle rod going all the way through the middle, which is where the grapes come off it on both sides to balance it. But I also have it hollow, and I filled it with ball bearings.
Okay.
Of which half of them are Lego ball bearings. But I couldn't get enough, so the other half are not Lego ball bearings. Now, I'm going to ship these to Billund instead of taking them on the airplane because I'm worried about the ball bearings going through X-ray.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to blow the airplane up. So I've actually thought about this. I'm like, how do I get the ball bearings without having too much problem? Because I didn't want him to rip open the Lego thing and destroy it because they're trying to find out what the ball bearings are doing inside.
Barbara, the Lego botanical builder, is a terrorist. Don't you know?
It's like, and, who knows what the thing was like.
Yeah.
I'm like, do I put a note? Hey, this is just for weight of my Lego build.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that, but that's a...
Oh, there's a lot of stuff that I have to deal with that people don't know. It's hard. It's hard to do the kind of builds I do. None of these Star Wars peoples have this problem.
No, there's no ball bearings in their builds. They're not trying to cause chaos and havoc.
I try to make things look light and airy, and they're not. They look light and airy, but...
Oh, my goodness. So when are you and your flowers taking a trip over to Billund?
It's this September.
Okay.
So it's towards the end. I don't know the exact date.
Are you going to be there
for Scareback?
Oh, you're there for the Scareback. Okay.
Yeah, because Lego has where the master case is installed like 2 days before Scareback begins.
Okay.
And so Women's Brick Initiative, which I'm part of, has a house for Scareback.
Okay.
So I'll be staying with Women's Brick Initiative there. And I'm also one of the founding members of Brick Alliance, which was founded by Women's Brick Initiative, Gayfuls, and Tips and Bricks.
Okay.
And I'm a contributor for Tips and Bricks as well.
Oh.
So we're all staying together in the house, and so it's going to be really nice. It'll be the first time Alice Finch and I have become really good friends over the past 3 years.
Yeah.
But we've never seen each other in person.
Ah, okay.
And so we're actually going to be roomies. And so there's a lot of people who, since 2020, I became more socially involved because of COVID, quite frankly. And so there's people who we started things together and all of this, and that I'll be seeing for the first time. I saw some people for the first time here, and then in Scareback, I'm going to see other people I've never seen before in person. So I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing here. I've chatted with so many different people on social media or in the Ambassador Network and stuff like that. And you meet face to face, you're like, oh my God, you're a real person.
Yeah. And you look different than what I thought you did, even though I have a picture of you. Boy, you're way taller than I thought you would be. Or way shorter, whatever.
Right. I always get, your voice is not what I expected with the way you look. I'm like, I don't know how to take that, good or bad.
It's like This American Life.
That's exactly it. Well, I'm glad to see that your stuff is going to Billund. They're incredible. Stuart could not stop gushing about you yesterday. It was before we started recording. We were just having a general conversation and stuff, and just a really cool guy and how they curate things over there. And it's amazing to see the different type of builds. I mean, you've got floral stuff. Other people have their own little thing. And it sets the tone for that event, for the year. Well, how long are they going to keep your stuff? Is it for a year?
It's a full year.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
And then they'll ship it back to me. It's funny because, what he had seen in 2019, it was very eclectic.
Yeah.
And then what I built, and then they asked me in April, I think, to send photos of what I thought I wanted to display.
Mm-hmm.
And then they didn't write back and say, yeah, that's great, or anything. And I was like, did I submit too much? Do they want all of it? I just didn't know. And also, I doubt myself. I'm like, well, maybe this isn't as good as what he thought I would have now.
Yeah.
But when he got here, he's like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Pick it all of it. I'm like, oh, okay.
I want it all.
I'm like, okay, I feel and they had other. I knew that there was some priorities of things that were going on in Lego House at that time. So, and they actually have an intern, which is great, organize all of them.
Yeah.
And so and I knew this, but it's I think there's always a lot of self-doubt. People tell me that you're a good builder, you do well, and it's like, but is that true?
Yeah.
Is it so?
But you're not,
it's frustrating.
Yeah, you're not the only one that I've heard say that. I mean, everybody that I have not heard one person that I've interviewed over the years that have said, oh, yeah, I'm totally an amazing builder. I already know that. Yeah. It's always the self-doubt, like, yeah, I appreciate that, but it's just the way it works.
Yeah.
It comes with the territory, I suppose.
and I tell people that, too, because, I'll talk to other women. They're like, oh, I'm nowhere as good as you. I'm like, okay, here's why you're great.
Yeah.
Here's what you did that I really appreciate. So, again, it's the teacher in me, too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and here's how I feel about my own stuff. So I share how I feel when they give me that feedback. And like when I taught the class again, I didn't put my QR code on. I didn't give any. I'm like, I just don't promote. I'm afraid to push myself on people.
Yeah.
I think I'm trying to be an ambassador for women, but at the same time, I feel like I don't want to push myself onto people.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I know I need to be more available to people and make myself easier to find. I mean, I use my name for everything. So if you Google my name, but who remembers full names?
Yeah.
And so I know that I need to get over some of that because I can't be an ambassador for little girls who want to build or anything like that unless they can find this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And other women builders. I mean, we talk about this. It's hard to find other women builders because sometimes we use names and sometimes we don't use names. Sometimes we identify. Definitely Women's Brick Initiative has helped. I don't know if anybody's ever talked about it, but there's the Ladies Lego Lounge that started during COVID, which is women only on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
And it is a massive group. So if Lego ever thought that women were not involved with Lego, that group in 2020 grew to
I can't even
over
imagine.
2K.
Yeah.
And it has, known builders on it. It has moms who have kids who love to build. It has moms who are just building with Duplo. It has women who just started building because COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, there's tons of people started building because of COVID. And, and none of them know about in-person things. A lot of them, it's only the online community. It's like, how do we get people involved, especially women who have kids and don't necessarily have the ability? I mean, one of the moms who's over on the far wall who has beautiful builds, it's like, this is the first time I've ever gone to a convention because I have childcare for my 2 little kids.
Okay.
And it's like, and there's a mom who builds in our group, and her husband also builds, but most of the time she's corralling her kids.
Yeah.
And Lee also corrals the kids, but she's taken on that huge responsibility with them. And so, women, I think, there's a lot of women builders. I built for 20 years in my basement before I came out of my basement.
Yeah.
It was after my daughter graduated from college.
Okay.
So that's when I came to my first con and joined a lot.
You're like, I'm free now?
Yeah.
I'm ready to step out.
But I wasn't even, actually I was just testing. I was like, should we downsize? Because I had massive art studio.
Yeah.
Was doing other art, and I had this Lego collection, which my daughter never built. It was always me. Maybe I'll give Lego a chance.
I think it's turned out okay.
Well, when I got here and I sold the piece that I had brought to Adam Tucker, if people are wondering, I went home and got rid of all my other art supplies. And just like...
Now it's just plastic brick.
And I have some environmentalist friends who are like, all I see is plastic when I come to your house. I'm like, but it's plastic nobody ever throws away. And here's my philosophy is that we really should go to alternative fuel systems so that petroleum can be used just to make Lego.
Well, and then now you can be like, oh, look, Lego's a green company. They've got windmills that power their factories. They've got, they're using plants and all kinds of other stuff.
But my storage system is plastic, and everybody's Lego storage system is plastic. So, yeah, it's a wall of plastic when you walk in.
Again, it's okay. No, nobody's throwing any of that out, because at the end of the day, what's going to end up happening is one day you're like, you know what, I can't do it anymore. I'm going to bequeath this to somebody
And
else.
almost all my storage, I bought at Goodwill, or it's recycled from what I got food served in, something like that. Yes, I buy some new plastic things, but generally speaking, I'm trying to be conscious and recycle. And
But nobody's throwing plastic brick away. You know what? I shouldn't say that. I've heard from parents that throw it away. Like their kids are done with it, and they just throw it in the trash. They're like, no, what are you doing? That's like gold. You
well,
can't
what's
get rid
really
of
great
that.
is that when my daughter graduated from high school, there were parents who knew I built with Lego, and they made their kids give their Lego to me.
Oh,
And so I had like 3 families who their kids brought their Lego to me before they went to college. I'm like, and I'm always, whenever a parent wants to do that or a kid does it, I always talk about, I said, these will last forever. If this is something you think you want to go back to, don't do that.
Right.
I want your Lego.
Yeah.
Let's not
Yeah.
say I don't.
yeah.
But I want to be honest that this has value, resale value, it has personal value, and it can be used forever. And so that's one. And when I see parents in, like, even the aisle of Target who are like going, oh, it's so expensive, I talk to them about the fact, well, if you buy this set, at the minimum, you'll be able to sell it for the retail cost.
Yes.
Back to anybody, even used. A car can never be sold for. There's
No.
nothing that you could sell for what you bought it for
No.
back. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, you can do that. You'll always find somebody who'll buy that price. And I also talked about the universality and the skills, and I'm like, yeah, it's a friend set. I love Friends because it pulls girls in.
Yeah.
And I also like to mix, if you look at the Juneteenth display I did,
Yes.
I mix Friends. I always mix Friends and Minifigs because we don't have one body type.
No.
I love Friends because it added that. It added height. It added, and the Friends have like 5 or 6 different body types.
Yes, they do.
And so you add that in then with the 3 different levels of heights with minifig legs. You really get now you get a crowd of people who look natural.
Yeah.
And I love that. And so I'm a big fan of the mini doll. Yes, I hate that the legs aren't articulate, and I hate that the hands don't turn.
Yeah.
But I do like that we got a lot more color in clothing, that we get a lot more body type. We got a lot more ethnic colors.
Yes.
I mean, that was the first way I was able to get any black and brown people into any of my scenes that weren't upset or pissed off.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you there. Absolutely.
So, but I mean, and I now mix my minifigs and Friends so much together that I now just see them as the people.
Yeah.
And I will forget that I can't put minifig clothes on mini doll heads and vice versa. And I'm like, wait, this isn't working because... But I did. I got the mini doll in the minifig wheelchair, which people don't like to do.
Okay.
So it's actually over there. My whole park system is wheelchair accessible, and there's a wheelchair accessible picnic table, and it's actually a Friends doll in a minifig wheelchair.
So you've got, not only are you hitting crushing racial boundaries, you're crushing everything, and then ADA's like, let me give you a big hug here. That's awesome.
Well, and really that build, it's a Tips and Bricks build.
Okay.
So I'm part of the D&I team for Tips and Bricks, and Tawana Washington, who lives in Cincinnati, is part of that team. And way back in January, at one of the meetings, we were talking about wanting to do something because this was going to be the first. Today is the first National Juneteenth Day in the United States.
Okay.
And that Brickworld was going to be on Juneteenth. And they wanted to do something, and like, well, can you build something? I'm like, well, I'm a white person. I can build this, because they knew I had a large interracial collection of mini dolls and minifigures. And I said, I could do this, but I can't just do this for a post. It would be disingenuous.
Sure.
So I said, let's do this for Brickworld. Let's make this a big celebration since it's going to be on Juneteenth. She was not able to physically build anything, but she wrote, there's 4 posters there explaining the holiday. She's the one who put that information together.
Okay.
The Bricks and Ticks team did the graphic design, and I printed them out. The flag is built by Thomas, who does a lot of Instagram feeds, who's part of Brick Alliance, and who's here.
Okay.
And so he made the flag. And then another friend of mine who lives in Chicago did the fireworks that go behind it.
Okay.
And so it's 4 of us who worked on this together, but it was really this, like, Tawana and I, for the whole park scene, she told me some things, like she absolutely wanted food trucks because they have food truck festivals in her city, and she just like, this is, so there's food trucks because of that inspiration, but I would send her pictures, just like, get those red velvet cakes in, get the red beverages in. I send her pictures of the people, the way they're dressed. I have 3 different sets of performers, and trying to figure out the costumes that would be appropriate within what was available. So she helped me, with all of that to make sure that I wasn't accidentally doing something offensive or something that would just be something that she would never see kind of situation. But also the way people interacted and all those scenes that have nothing to do with racial boundaries. It's just like she would have ideas and I would have ideas, and so we just really collaborated on the feel of it, and we wanted it to be a joyful feel because, yes, Juneteenth also is used for protests, and awareness, but for this we wanted it to be a celebration with our signs being the awareness.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun to do that. I mean, it was just fun to build, and Rachel has experience with a lot of museums doing interactive displays, and our goal is that we'll actually build this out some more and hopefully be able to tour and put it in some museums, have it go around and help be part of awareness, but also be a piece of art. And a woman who does the electronics, this is a big thing, and I'm plugging Rachel, she has invented a tape that goes between studs and is flat, and bricks go over it.
Oh, no.
And she has LED lights.
Oh, my goodness.
And so, promoting women who could do these things. So and there's Thomas, but it's 3 women who mainly did this. And so there's all these parts of this that it's like, I'm so proud of all of these elements that are involved in this, from the people who did it. And Thomas, I don't want to bemoan Thomas. He's fantastic, and he's always about how to save money with Lego and that you can have fun with. So he's a great addition to it, but he is the odd man out.
That was I have had a blast chatting. It's getting super loud as people are coming in. It's just about time for the doors or them to run screaming.
I know, they're all lining up. Whoa.
I know. It's not as many as yesterday at this point in time. They were like shoving the table over. But your journey has been incredible. I love the fact, like, where you said you started, building, and then you're like, I don't know. And then you just constantly are improving. And it's something that I think a lot of kids, they're not burdened with that I'm not good enough yet.
Right.
It's not been ingrained in them by society. Like, you haven't done enough yet. So, final thoughts here. What are some words of wisdom that you could give to? Because I have kid listeners. This is a G-rated show. Yeah. So, I mean, I have kids that are the whole way from the age 6, the whole way up to who knows. So, anybody, whether it be from birth the whole way up until death, I mean, what are some words of inspiration you could give to them to, like, hey, you can keep building, you can get better.
You put things together, they're going to break. You're always going to squeeze too hard, and they'll explode. It happens to all of us. You're going to be messy. Tell your mom and dad it's part of the creative process. I mean, it's messy. It breaks, but it goes back together. So when it breaks, it's not broken.
Well, and I like what you said. It's the creative process, and it is. And
yeah.
That's just the way it works. Well, Barbara, where can you showed me some of your Instagram. I can't remember what your Instagram handle is.
I am Barbara _Hoel. So Barbara, BARBARA, and then _HOEL.
So I appreciate you coming on, Barbara. And sharing your time. Your husband and I chatted the other morning for a while, and I was like, okay, well, let's see if she'll come on. And we managed to get you this morning.
Did he chat online?
No, he didn't.
Oh,
He came up here. I think he was like hyping you up. You know, he was your hype man.
So you already heard that this is his very first time to
Yep.
build. So yeah, he is my hype man, and he is. He's fantastic.
Yeah, great supporter.
I'm very lucky.
You're very lucky. Well, guys, that's going to wrap up this interview with Barbara. Make sure you go check her out on Instagram for sure. She's got some really cool stuff. And Barb, hopefully I see you again in Brick World Chicago next year, and who knows where we cross paths again.
Yeah, thank you so much for talking to me. It's been
absolutely.
a lot of fun.
Well, that was a blast. I had so much fun talking to Barbara. She's a chatty person. She's a very energetic person. And just the sidebar conversation afterwards was incredible. And then even throughout the day. So a nice person to chat with, some gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous builds. And I'll tag the photo. I think I've already posted the photos of her flowers, but I'll put it out there on Instagram for you guys to see out on the socials, and you have an opportunity to see exactly what she has built and what is going to the Lego house, which is just really cool. If you ever have an opportunity to have one of your mocks displayed there, you should know that is such a huge honor that so many people want to achieve. Well, maybe not everybody, but I would say most mock builders have the drive or have a goal of having their stuff displayed, even at a Lego store, or my goodness, in the Lego house for a year. That's just incredible. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Our very next episode, I know this was episode 250. Can you believe it? And there's well more than that if you actually account for all of them, but these actual numbered episodes. And I thought about doing something special, but I chose not to. I decided, you know what, we're just going to keep going. And maybe at the 300, it feels a little bit different, a little bit more whole number-esque. So look out for that, and you'd be surprised. That's probably going to come fairly quick. The next episode that we have coming up tomorrow is the roller coaster, the brand new roller coaster. I've been sitting on it, and it had to move and be adjusted, but it's coming tomorrow. So until we meet again, or we take that roller coaster trip again, I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it.